What's up, guys? We got another game with the white pieces. We're rated 1209 against Janper 123 1215. We're going to start off with an e4 opening. They go e5. We bring the bishop out and prepare castling immediately. They respond with developing their knight towards the center. Makes a lot of sense. We're going to continue developing. Now, I want to play f4, so that's the reason I didn't put my knight here. Black develops his knight towards the center, applying pressure to the light squares. That makes sense. We're going to play d3 and just solidify our central pawn chain and get ready to push f4, which is our idea in this opening. Black goes bishop c5. They now bring out 3 minor pieces to very active squares and prepare castling. It's kind of scary. They're playing well. We're going to go f4 anyway, even though this bishop is staring down this diagonal. It's a bit scary looking, yes. We want to bring our knight out here, potentially castle long. But it all depends how black responds to this, because that can change the course of the game. So black just goes d6, defending the pawn, not doing anything too rash, opening up their bishop's diagonal. It makes perfect sense. A natural move would be to bring your knight out. However, I'm going to play this interesting move f5 and just shut this bishop, because if you develop your knight, maybe he can put a piece on this square and now coordinate, something like that. But now his bishop has nowhere to go, and his knight can't jump here like that because the queen would have taken it. So black decides to take my knight and ruin my castling rights. That's fair, but this bishop is the dangerous bishop, right? Like, my good bishop is my dark bishop, and so by him giving it to me, I'm just going to castle queenside, so he didn't actually ruin my castling rights. I didn't want to, and now he's helping me go g5, g4, g5. So now I want to castle long, and he's kind of castling into an attack, right? He's asking for it. But I want to castle queenside first, so we can develop our bishop to these 2 squares. They're both active. We're going to go to the more active square. This puts more pressure on his position, and we had this possibility to increase the pressure. It also forces him psychologically to make these pawn moves, hitting the bishop, but it's on the side where he's weak. So maybe pushing h6 and maybe even g5 after this is ill-advised, but he might do it anyway. I don't think sacking works just yet, but I think if we just maintain the pin, he might even be coaxed into doing this, which actually blunders on passant because this pawn's pinned. So let's just maintain the pin. He doesn't have a dark square bishop, so now when we add pressure with the knight, he's hard pressed to find a way to defend it. I mean, he can't. It's impossible. He only has the queen and this pawn, because this knight can't reach one of these squares. Actually, maybe if he went back home and then I jumped in and then he jumped here, maybe that was actually his best approach, because this doesn't threaten anything because he has no pieces out, so there's nothing to coordinate with. It's just a lone knight, and otherwise it would be nice in the center, but not when, like, he has to consider my threats before he just decides, oh, I'm gonna improve a piece willy-nilly. He has to address my threat first. And if you come to the decision you want to try to find a way to defend this knight, you kind of do, by process of elimination, are forced to find this. So, but anyway, he jumps in, so I'm gonna continue doing this. And one good thing about removing this knight, aside from destroying his kingside pawn structure, which is huge, is this knight is the one thing that's actually stopping my queen from coming to one of these squares in one turn. Because if you leave the knight there, you have to, like a queen e1, queen g3, something like that, and you have to waste time. If you get rid of this knight, the queen can jump in on the light square immediately. But considering he can't defend it, like my g-pawn, I wish I could pick it up and throw it off the board, right? So that's important. I want you to consider that idea, that you don't want to protect the g-pawn in a case like this. So anyway, he goes g5, which I thought he psychologically might be forced to, hitting the bishop. We have en passant, but now we have the knight in the way. That's the one difference. So the pawn's not pinned. So if we en passant and he takes a piece, that's not good. Because we take a pawn. Let's say he doesn't take and just moves his king. That might be the best move. Then he doesn't walk into anything. So en passant, takes a piece. I get another pawn. He moves his king. I take the knight. He takes the knight. I go queen in here. But this is defended and I don't have any rooks in, so I don't like that. I could start with the knight first. He has to take with the queen. So we're changing up the move order. But then you don't have en passant because of the rules of the game. So, okay. Either way, his king side is so drastically weakened that if I bring the bishop back and just attack his pawns, they're going to probably break open. Not to mention, this knight, it's not really in a good spot. So he tries to kick my knight, but I'm happy to trade his defender off with tempo, because otherwise you're eventually going to run into this knight one way or the other. So you have to get it off the board. It's the defender, the guard, the king's guard. You got to get rid of it. Okay, so now this knight's not doing anything. He wants to do this, but he can't because the pawn hangs. Maybe we kick the knight anyway, just so that we can castle at some point without walking into this. Like if we move our queen, he hits us with that at some point. I do want to play h4, but maybe I don't see any harm in doing this because it's not like he can trade his knight for a minor piece. Actually, where's he going with this knight? He has to go here? What if I kick it again? Then he has to go here, and then I go here. And that seems like really milking the cow. So he counter attacks me, but I definitely want my bishop. And that was the only square his knight could go to. But if I have to retreat, he could take my bishop. That's not good. I can take a pawn. Takes. Maybe I just remove the defender of the king. Let's do that. Let's do a forcing move. Remove the defender of the king. That pawn. Now we have a passed pawn. And then we'll take the knight. And that bishop eventually would have got locked out, and technically is our bad bishop since our pawns are on light. So now we'll take back. The rook does get in on the defense, but now we don't need to attack because we have a passed pawn. So we can just win with that if we want. Although, how does he reply to this? I also have queen b3 ideas, but let's open up the king. I'm just curious to what he does. He can take it. It's a free pawn. And his king is kind of safe because his rook is here. So that's actually playable for him. Then I go here and then he pushes past. But then I attack it and he can't defend it. So if he takes and I chuck my queen in and he throws his rook over, that's no good. If he takes and I chuck my queen in, he can't queen trade anyway because my pawn is in his face. Okay, so he ignores and pushes. Let me just take this real quick because it comes with tempo and I'm low on time. He takes with the queen, kind of gets in on my diagonal, and I can't do anything about that. Unfortunate. I really wish I didn't have my g-pawn. Jesus Christ. And I really wish my king was already castled. At the end of the day, though, I have a winning endgame, so I should not be afraid to trade queens. He's got pawn weaknesses, double pawns. I have pass pawn that can be supported with other pawns. So yes, I would, if my g pawn wasn't here, I have the best attack. Like I can do something with that. But with the g pawn here, it's so annoying, and like I don't have the coordination I need. I don't have the squares I need. But I do have a passed f pawn, so. And also this pawn's hanging, and this pawn's weak. Okay, so now the queens are off the board. These are forcing moves. So this is, I need to protect this chain. So this is a weakness. If I take this pawn and he swings a rook over and I move my king, I'm safe. I have no idea what b4 was. You had to have seen this king move over, otherwise you walk into the pin and c5. So it's important to move calculation. Now he's just throwing pawns away. He was playing so well, and now he's just throwing pawns away. I need to just trade some rooks and an easy win. Okay, so he's hitting this once. It's important that I do not lose that. Which rook? Let's just put this rook. I have 2 minutes. I don't want to waste time on a question like that. So he applies pressure the second time. But what's the drawback of this move, guys? You guessed it. Bishop takes rook. Well, that made my life a lot easier. That was awesome. Listen, he had more time. He wasn't forced to do that. Okay, so we got another game against the 1300, the highest rated opponent so far in our speedrun, I think. He starts with e4. We play a PIRC, PIRC. And now he develops his bishop, puts pressure on this pawn. Maybe he's even going to do some crazy sacrifice. I don't know. Did I just try to move my rook? He's going for the kill. He's fried livering me, even though I'm playing the PIRC. So I'm going to adjust and play this move because he's threatening to take my pawn. If I can draw an arrow, so if you go bishop g7, obviously he takes. So I'm adjusting, being flexible. I'm not a robot. And now he puts a second pawn in the center. This knight defends this pawn, but is looking awfully suspicious. What happens when I kick the knight? I don't know. What happens if I kick the bishop? Some more questions. Does he take? Then I take. Let's go for that. Maybe a check? That's not the move. Well, thanks for the free solidification of my pawn structure. I appreciate it. Now I can kick his knight. I can also fianchetto. I guess the one difference is if I let him if I fianchetto, it gives him the f4 move that he wouldn't otherwise have. So let's kick the knight. It weakens our pawns a little, but whatever. I don't see it being a big deal. So he goes back. Let's not be too fancy. Let's fianchetto first, and let's castle first, and then we'll do the fun stuff. Okay, now that our king is safe, we have to watch out for doubling up on this pawn with a battery and sacrifices on this pawn, like what he's trying to do. Maybe now. He takes, rook up, queen over. I don't really see anything. What else? So yeah, I'm just going to challenge the knight. I'm just going to develop my minor piece and challenge his knight in the center. We know his threat. The drawback is he's moving the same piece like 3 or 4 times back and forth, only to trade for my knight, which moved once. So that was dumb. And now I get to develop my last minor piece for free. He develops this. What's the threat? No threat. He's just gonna develop the piece to a good square. Drawback is it takes a couple turns. So now it's my turn. Do I have any good looking forcing moves? That's not good looking necessarily. Okay, if not, how can I improve my position immediately? This improves my position immediately. What does this threaten? Maybe he's going to try the same shenanigans. No real drawbacks. Other than it releases control of the square. I'm going to jump my knight and try to control the center. And open up my bishop. So now a lot of pieces are moving and lots of different things that he does can hang a pawn or give me a strong pawn in the center. Like he can make lots of decisions here that are just wrong. So he jumps his knight into the center. Potentially we can win a pawn, but we would have to give up our beautiful defensive bishop. Not necessarily what we want to do. He's also attacking our light square bishop. We don't necessarily need to let him take that. Maybe we can move it out of the way for a turn and see what he does. Maybe we entice him to do something like this. And then we'll move our bishop back. Even if he takes, it's no big deal. And his pawn will be maybe overextended. He might just kick the knight, but then we have a good square for it on d6. So he develops the queen, puts a little pressure on my pieces. I could kick the queen with tempo. That's interesting. Queen goes somewhere. I take the bishop. He takes. Is there a point to that? Also, I can go here. But that's kind of the same. It's less forcing, but kind of the same. We kind of don't want our... We would like to trade these bishops if we can. So I'm going to force it. If I go here, he could even move his bishop. So he had to move his queen. But I thought he wanted to keep it on the 3rd rank. Because I was going to take this. Maybe he's coordinating on this square, and I have to watch out. My knight currently protects it, but he can kick it. But right now I'm taking the bishop, which hits a rook. So he doubles the pawns. So all I need to do now is bring my queen here, and that shuts down everything he's doing. Do I have a better move? Yeah, let's just keep it simple. Offer the queen trade. He doesn't go for the queen trade. So I just gotta guess free queen development, and he's no longer coordinating on this square, which means I'm free to move my knight. He has a little bit of pressure here, but I have it defended twice. And now I'm creating threats, and he needs that pawn for this knight. So he moves the knight trying to copy me and like hit my queen and stuff. He's also attacking this pawn, which is, I guess I'm gonna have to give it up, but that's probably fine. He's hitting my queen. I can't counter hit his queen, right? Yeah, so I might as well just take the pawn. Alright, we'll just take the pawn. A central pawn for an outside flank pawn. I will take that trade and leave you with another weak central pawn. Maybe he'll give a check. I think I'll just move my king to this side. Going here may walk into stuff. Although if I go here, yeah, that looks a little suspicious. If I go here, this always defends. Let's try this square. We don't want to take and bring his bishop in. Oh, I did not even see this check. Holy moly. I guess I only have one move, so the rules of the game decide that for me. Thank God I had a move, because I didn't even see this check. Okay, so he's hitting my queen. That's fair. I think I should move my queen. Maybe attack his queen. I did want to move my rook over, but that tactic didn't look like it worked. Because he takes my rook, I take his queen, then he takes my queen, and I only get a bishop out of it. So he's up in exchange. I mean, I do have still a good position, but... So he avoids the trade. This dude, he has me in like mating nets. I mean, there's no mate, so it's perfectly fine, but what looks like some type of scary mate, even though it's not. And then he does a move like this. He's playing so well. And I move 24 for no reason at all. With 7:11 on the clock. He hangs a queen. Unprovoked. And it almost looks like he's getting some compensation, but the knight's also hanging. So, even though he's lucky this pin happens to be here. Oh, now he becomes an engine. Now he doesn't even take the rook. Oh, this guy. So I'm going to move my queen and let him take the rook, of course. But where should I move my queen? Maybe here? Or maybe should I stay on the king side? Hard to say. I'm not sure how I coordinate on the king side, so let's take the pawn. He takes, so I imagine we go here and keep the light square open for our pieces. I mean the dark square. And now something like this. Okay, so he hits our queen. So we're going to move our queen. He's also hitting our pawn behind it, but whatever. Nothing we can do. If we hit his bishop... I'm just going to do this because I want to bring my rook in the game. Because I want to coordinate something on his king, but no matter where I put his bishop, I'll always be able to put a pawn. Now he's trying to create his own mating nets, so I gotta... This is annoying. Let's not let him do that. So that's a mating net you have to know. Okay, but now my king always has squares. Okay, where should I put my queen? Let's confuse him with this move. It confuses me, so it definitely confuses him. Yeah, okay, he just goes back. So now I'm just gonna take stuff. And now I have 3 passed pawns, which he walks into. I only have a minute on my clock, so that's less than ideal. But I am up a queen, so I should probably be able to make it work. So this pawn's not hanging. I can also protect it if he moves his bishop. I don't want to walk into this, so let me get out of that. And then I could just push my pawns. Since this guy's not letting me trade anything, he's being annoying. Let's keep pushing. 59 seconds. Thank you for the rook. This is a 501c3 organization. We accept all donations and coordinations on the dark square. Thank you very much. And that's a good game, sir. Oof. Okay, so I had 51 seconds here. Imagine if he didn't hang the queen. Thank you, though. You see that 1300? He beat himself. I didn't even do anything. I offered a queen trade, and he hung his queen. If I knew all you had to do to win was offer queen trades, I would have played differently. Okay, submit your rapid games for game analysis. We keep climbing.